welcome to Day One Patch Podcast, episode 336. I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. We got Tim Spence here. How you doing?
Hello.
I came flying into this intro. Matt Lawrence, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
No Adriano today.
I ran him over again.
Jesus, man. Some of the top stories today include Sony reversing course on discontinuing their PS3 and Vita stores. However, they did not reverse the decision on the PSP store. I think that's still getting shut down. PS5 will have more exclusives than previous consoles, according to CEO, Sony's Jim Ryan. Discord is apparently not going to be bought by Microsoft. Also, Microsoft's xCloud beta arrives on iOS and PC. It says this week, but I think it was on the 20th, so that's already happened. Hopefully, you're lucky enough to get an invite. And Overwatch 2, director Jeff Kaplan announced he's leaving Blizzard. Now, I put this one in here hoping Adriano would be here, because I'm the only one who really kind of cares about Overwatch. So, anyway, we'll talk about it a bit. What's new with you guys? Tim, what's new with you?
Just been still grinding away the old Oblivion and really doing the Shivering Isles DLC for the first time. I'm pretty sure I played through most of it back in the day, but I never actually did like any of the side stuff. For whatever reason, I don't know. I was like, I guess curious to see what happens at the end of it, and I just only did the main story, and just like flew through it as fast as I could. So I've been really taking my time with it, like exploring pretty well every cave or dungeon or whatever that I come across, and doing side quests and stuff too. And I'm pretty sure I've come across like some of my favorite quests in all of Oblivion just in the Shivering Isles alone. Like there's such cool ideas for quests and stuff. Like there's one where you basically come across a fort where there was an attack and a bunch of people died, and you know, you look into it and it turns out that they like the reason that everybody died was because there were people that were supposed to fulfill their duties and they just didn't for whatever reason, like one or another. And so Sheogorath, who's like the Daedric prince of the Shivering Isles, like cursed them all to suffer their fate for over and over, repeating for eternity. So it's kind of like a Groundhog Day kind of thing where you kind of need to like keep going through the events over and over again, and then like help the people like resolve the issues that they didn't resolve, basically, or like help them achieve their thing. So it's like the one person is standing guard on the one like post over the doorway or the gateway where all of the marauders got in, but they didn't have any arrows, so they couldn't fight back with their bow. And it's like another guy was a mage, but he was out of magicka or whatever, and just stuff like that. So it's really cool because like you get to kind of see the events happening over and over, and then you kind of help them resolve them and stuff. And it's just the way that it was presented was really well done. And I think it might also be the fact that like I've played so much Oblivion in the past like month or so. I just having that like even just very slight change in scenery in a different area was like really nice. Seeing all the like the wackiness and stuff, because I remember it being kind of silly when I played through it when I was, I don't know, 16 or whatever. But it's cool to see in a different light and like paying more attention and appreciating it a bit more, I think. It's really cool though. I definitely fully recommend. Like I know that people talked a big game about it before, but then actually getting to do it was like, all right, yeah, this expansion lives up to the hype. This is really good.
Does that expansion come with the Game Pass version?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure any edition of Oblivion anymore is only going to be the Game of the Year edition. Same on Steam as well. I think you can only buy the Game of the Year edition on Steam.
Now, was it Oblivion that had the horse armor? Was that the big controversy?
Yeah, right? That was the big controversial one back.
And do you get that with this or no?
Yeah,
like, is that
you get
still
all
in the
little? Yep, you get all the little expansion packs as well. So there's minor DLCs as well, which are like basically they're just like mini quests that you get right out the gate. Whenever you install them, like you boot up your character and then all the quests just pop up and you can go do them anytime. So there's one where you like repair and like an astronomy viewing deck in the Mages Guild, and that one just gives you like a random buff depending on when you like activate it, like what day it is of the week when you activate it and what time. There's one to get like a mysterious like weapon that's like the demon dagger kind of thing. Then there's obviously the horse armor, and then there's some player houses too. There's like a big mage's tower called Frostcrag Spire. There's a warrior fort that's called Battlehorn Castle.
That one's
like
great.
Yeah, Battlehorn's really good because it's cool because there's sort of like some of them even have fairly lengthy quest lines to follow as well. So the Battlehorn one is cool, and there's little side things too. Like if you hunt Minotaur or mountain lions or Spriggans or whatever, and you bring back their parts, there's like a guy who like that you hire eventually when you like have kitted out the castle, who will like taxidermy the stuff for you, so you can have like a hall full of bears and minotaurs and mountain lions and stuff. It's cool. And then there's like a like a pirate cave, and you can become a pirate leader kind of thing. You can like send out your crew, they'll go get loot for you every week. There's like a vampire cave. There's a bunch of stuff. So it's pretty cool. And I kind of ignored all of that stuff because I only ever kind of wanted to do the same things over and over as a kid when I played this game. So like doing the main story and like or doing the Thieves Guild or that sort of thing. So it's been really cool to kind of work my way through all these DLCs and check out all the stuff I missed, because it's like I've had so many hours in Oblivion over the years, but there's so much of it that I really never dug into. And it's kind of like it's when you it's like when you have this thing that you really really love and you've played it to death and you're like, oh man, I wish there was more, like something new, something fresh, and then it's just kind of been there the whole time that you never even decided to dig into. So maybe my experience is kind of unique, but yeah, it's been really really good to go back through it all again.
That's pretty cool to find something you like so much that you didn't try when you were younger. And
Yeah,
have it
I
still
don't
be
know.
something new and refreshing.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I've played hundreds of hours of Dark Souls, but I've done absolutely everything in it. So there's nothing fresh that I could do in Dark Souls anymore, aside from like
Right.
maybe like a playthrough that like a build I've never done before kind of thing. But even then, it's cool to like see new content, like voice acting and characters you'd never met before and things like that.
What's your thoughts on Knights of the Nine? Because I know that game that gets not as much hype as Shivering
Yeah.
Isles, but like I actually don't like it.
Yeah, I remember doing Knights of the Nine, and it's a pretty tedious quest line. I haven't done
I
it
thought
in a
that
long
too.
time. It's pretty tedious. I think the story's not as good as like Shivering Isles. It's not as like involved. You don't see as many characters. A lot of it's just kind of like you and a couple NPCs, and that's it. Like there's really not that much to it. It's very kind of samey, and then it's a lot of dungeon delving to find like ancient, like paladin armor pieces and things like that, which in itself is cool. But I don't know. I feel like it wasn't enough to, like, they released Knights of the Nine and they released Shivering Isles as like separate expansions. Shivering Isles adds a whole new area, all new characters and quest lines and stores and gear pieces and armor pieces and spells and all this shit and creatures and stuff. Knights of the Nine doesn't add that much. So for the two of them to be treated kind of equally seems silly to me. Like it's disappointing for what it is, I would say. Like overall it's cool, but definitely leaves you wanting more.
I kind of found that Knights of the Nine was kind of it kind of felt like the classic like Knights of the Round Table type of thing. Maybe that's why people like it so much. I know it's not actually that story by any means, but it's kind of like that realm of knights or whatever. And
Well, and like with these games too, like I kind of like to RP the characters a little bit, so like I try to make decisions based on like what I think that character would do. And like, so if I have like, I'm not going to do all 4 guilds with one character. Like I'm not going to do Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood and Mages Guild and Fighters Guild, because it's like, what kind of person does all that? Like it's not the kind of character that this character is. Like if you were going to do a 100% completionist run, like for the sake of that, then maybe, yeah. But for example, like I did the Mages Guild and the Dark Brotherhood on my playthrough, because Dark Brotherhood's like, anybody could be an assassin or like a murderer or whatever. And I kind of wanted to see if I could do the Dark Brotherhood perfectly with magic only, which isn't super doable, to be honest. But then like, yeah, I did all the Mages Guild and that was fun. But like, I don't wouldn't really want to do like a fighters guild, but only use magic. I guess it's kind of a gimmicky thing you could do, but and then like thieves guild and only use magic. But aside from that, like so when it comes to Knights of the Nine, I'm just like, why would a wizard seek out like this ancient set of paladin armor? That doesn't make any sense. So I just have kind of thought like for RP purposes, it doesn't make sense that my character would do the Knights of the Nine. So
Doing it
I'm
for
not
fun.
doing Knights of the Nine. Yeah, like I would do it, but maybe on like a different character.
I can't remember if the DLC in that game, I believe Shivering Isles does have a level suggestion. I don't know if it's a requirement. I know that in Morrowind, Solstheim is notoriously difficult, and you're supposed to really not even approach it until level 20-ish. I think Shivering Isles has a similar thing. I wonder if Knights of the Nine does. I don't really remember that. But I don't know, I was curious if it did. Like, did it warn you when you went through the portal the first time?
No, you can. So the thing about Oblivion is that like the whole game is scaled to you. Like nothing is there isn't really any area that you shouldn't go
Right.
At level 1, except for maybe like specific areas where specific enemies spawn. Like there are certain caves where these special kind of trolls spawn, and like trolls would be really friggin' hard to kill at level 1.
Yeah.
And I think there's like one grove that's like south of the Imperial City where the unicorn is, where I think minotaurs always spawn there.
Yeah,
they're, like, protecting
guarding
unicorn.
guarding
But
the unicorn. Yeah.
But I might be wrong. I haven't gone there at level 1 in like 10 years, so I can't remember. But there are certain areas, but it's not the vast majority of the game. It's like a couple of places, and like when you go into Shivering Isles, it didn't say anything like that. What's funny is like the only things that have a level requirement are the Daedric shrines. So,
right.
Like Nocturnal and Hircine and Hermaeus Mora, etc. They all have a level requirement.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only things that you really can't do in this game at level 1 are like any of the Daedric shrines. I'm pretty sure even the lowest level requirement, because they all have like a different requirement. I think even the lowest level requirement one is level 2. So,
which would be a quick change, or like a quick way to get there. But I mean, some of these quests you don't really need this stuff from them till later anyway. So
yeah. So like very minor spoilers. There's a part in the main story where you have to acquire a Daedric artifact and give it to a character so they can like use it in a ritual basically, and that destroys it in the process. So the only one that you can get at level 1 is a recurring item in the series, the sword Umbra.
Oh yeah.
Always exists in the game's inventory no matter what level you are. You just have to go to a certain character and they have it. So you can do that. And I'm pretty sure that's what the like level 1 speedrun of the game uses. Like they just go straight to that location, they kill the character, they take the sword, and then they do the main story up to that part and give the sword as the artifact. But I don't know. Overall, like Oblivion's a really good game. I think that it doesn't get the like Skyrim gets all the hype, I think, but I think Oblivion is really that good balance between like an old school RPG and a modern RPG. It really fits in between Morrowind and Skyrim really well, I think. Morrowind is a little too OG RPG for me. And Skyrim is kind of they simplified too much for the sake of accessibility, I think, in Skyrim. Just the fact that you can't even like make your own magic spells and stuff like that, and a lot of
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, and then a lot of the storylines for the main guilds and things are not as cool.
No, definitely not.
As in Oblivion, like the Dark Brotherhood, way worse. Although I forgot there's a portion of the Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion that is really tedious. It's like, go here, kill this person, go here, kill this person, go here, kill this person. And there's no like special way to do it, no special requirement. It's like 5 quests in a row where it's like, go to the dead drop, get the contract, go kill the person, go to the dead drop, get the contract. And it's like there's a story purpose to it. But the first half of Dark Brotherhood is really, really good, and then the middle is like, or I guess just after the middle is kind of tedious, and then the end is super, super good. But yeah, Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim is like poop dog water compared to Oblivion. Everything in Skyrim, I don't know, it just felt very like watered down.
I feel the same as I can't remember. I can't really remember any of the quests, short of maybe some of the early ones in that game in Skyrim at all. But I can remember a bunch of the Oblivion quests.
Everybody remembers the Murder Mystery Mansion.
Oh yeah, there's one in Fallout 4 as well.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like there's a certain charm that they kind of left me wanting in Skyrim. But anyway, that's it. That's all I've been doing. Just Oblivion.
Matt, what about you?
So I've been doing two things. So I've been doing Outriders with Ryan actually. Hitting the Outriders pretty hard these days. Well, I mean, I say pretty hard, but the game's getting more hard than like it's not like we're playing it more. We're just getting our asses kicked more.
Yeah. Holy cow.
This game was a game where we mentioned it before, where you could always kind of get, you get in trouble, have some trouble, and you come up with a couple strategies. One of them would work, and then that's it. We kind of got to a point where we're playing with another guy, Alex, that we know, and like we got stuck at this one part where Ryan got kicked out due to this weird bug, and we just like tried it once because the guy was about to leave for the night, and we got destroyed, him and I. So then Alex leaves and Ryan joins my game, and we tried again, and I got destroyed again. We both did 5-6 times in a row. So Ryan leaves, and I get pissed off. So I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm just fucking gonna try this thing over and over again. So like solo. So I try it solo and accidentally leave my party open. To my benefit, some random guy joins. Now I'm level 26 or 27 at this time. Guy that joins is level 30. And he comes in. I don't know what class he was, but he had to stay close to them. So I think he was the same class as me. I'm not sure. And I had kept dying and dying and dying. Like I wasn't doing well. And this guy was just in amongst them, not dying. And I was kind of just watching. There's little buff icons that appear. So I was kind of watching those. And he would drop really low. Sometimes his health would if his buffs ran out. But then he would immediately recover, and then his buffs would all come back. So I took it upon myself, because the game mechanics are relatively simple in this game, so I took it upon myself that night, because all this happened within a couple of hours, to look this up a little bit, and just sort of more or less look it up in the game, look at my guns, kind of take stock. What do I got? What can I improve? I've been more or less at this point churning through loot. Oh, this has higher firepower. I'm just going to get rid of it soon anyway, because I'll level up, whatever. And it was my estimate, which ended up being correct, that the maximum character level was 30. And I was, like I said, around 26, 27. So based on that assumption, that's when I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to invest all these supplies that I've been getting from dismantling loot all this time, and I'm going to choose the best loot in my inventory and try to actually improve my stuff. So I did that, went back, did another quest myself, just one that we had already done. I just redid it to learn some of the mechanics a little bit more, because the game was more or less like a shooter to me, and I started just learning, like, okay, this gun's going to heal me, this gun's heavy damage, this is just like my build, this armor buffs this armor does this armor does this, I'm going to mod this armor so I can do this, and I kind of got that down. So that's kind of what Outriders has become to me, is like I've started to like actually build my character. What I like about it, though, is that it's not like a traditional game, like a looter shooter, where it starts getting really complicated choosing what gear is the best. It's almost just like a Call of Duty attachment system, where you have two mods on your gun, and there's a few effects. You can level up the gun's effects, or you can level up the gun because the gun has like a generic level, like, hey, this is a level 33 gun, whatever, right? And you can upgrade that. And then there's just two mod slots. You can only mod one of them, and then the other one gets locked forever, but as far as I know, but the other one that you modded, you can keep changing it out. So you can just keep trying new things with that one mod, just make sure the one is the one that you want. So I kind of changed my skills to be tailored to the equipment I had and stuff like this. And that's kind of where we're at. Although we still have trouble. Like we did the next night, we did a bunch of the game. Probably, I mean, I've never played it before, but I'm going to guess probably 70% of the act that we're on. And we got to a point where it was just Ryan and I, and we were just doing a side mission. And we get to this end room in this side mission, and this big like shaman warlock or something shows up.
God.
And he fucking killed, like, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, this is a challenge. It was like, oh, this is broken. Like, this is no longer, it was like we show up, dead. Show up again, dead. Show up again, dead. Okay, I'm gonna dodge, dead. Gonna go over here, dead. It was just like, it was fucking really bad. This guy, from what we can tell, does not require line of sight to attack you. Can attack you from any range across the battlefield. Can attack you, or his attacks, do up to or more than 50% of my health, and I have the most health out of the two of us. And we were shooting at him for a while because it took us 5-6 tries to kill all the ads around him because the ads were also hurting us, and it was just him, and he still fucked us over. So I looked it up, and it's hour, and when I say hour, I mean like myself and the community seemingly online. It appears to be that this guy's bugged, so that it's just this one enemy that appears to be, for some reason, I guess, locked at a higher level or is just way too strong, because we turned the world tier down 1, and we've never had to do that before. We turned down the world tier down 1, and it took us, like, we survived, and at that 1 world tier lower than what we should have been, we were, I think, I was level 30, Ryan's like level 28, we're at like the proper gear score and everything else. Like I said, we're having proper challenges in the game, but we're not dying like this. And at this level, he would still take 50% or more of my health in an attack. It took about 20 minutes consistently of shooting him. Just 20 minutes. That's how much health he had. So, and he's not some big boss. He didn't have a special health bar like the other big bosses do. And we had just faced a big boss and we killed him in like 5 minutes or less. So there's something going on there. Whether he's supposed to be a very special challenge for a not very special reward, I don't really know. Although I think we got a legendary from that, so that was okay. But even then, so that was the thing that we really got stuck on. But there's been a few times where we've gotten stuck. But the game,
my favorite part was because it's a multi-leveled layer, and like you can go up to the back, and you would run up there and then jump off, and he'd be shooting electric bolts at you as you're falling. You're like, he's killing me faster than gravity can.
Yeah, I would drop from a top of a balcony, and in my mid fall, he would target me. Like there's like this target where he would launch these bolts from like the sky, which is like nothing. Like you're just summoning these lightning bolts down. He wouldn't be targeting me because you could see it clearly. I would jump. I'm falling, and not even that far. He would target and hit me before I hit the ground, without line of sight. It's just like, holy fuck! Like it's just that was a thing. But I don't know. We're pretty equipped. I have a legendary helmet and 2 legendary weapons now. So we're kind of just going to be pushing the story probably with Alex, just trying to beat it, because we're probably, I don't know. I'm going to say at the most, total estimate, like I said, never played before, I'm going to say at the most 6 zones away. And some of the zones only have
by now.
Yeah, and some of the zones only have like 1 or 2 missions. So I would say 6 zones away at the most based on the size of the map. But then again, there's probably some end game stuff that you can do that might be in one of the sections of the map. So I'm not sure. But anyway, it's still super fun. No complaints other than that one guy. The challenges were fun to beat, even that one big challenge we had. And I learned more about the game and stuff like that. On the Morrowind front, I did one long play session. I kind of prefer to play Morrowind in a long play session rather than keep coming back to it. So I did one really long play session this week, and it was about 4 or 5 hours maybe, and so not really long, and I did. So I have before the last act in that 3-act thing, like I've mentioned over the weeks. The last act is 2 quests, 2 missions, whatever. And I need to get these 6 votes, basically. 3 of the houses are done, that's already over. And I have 1 vote from one of the other tribes, and I'm half done another one. So this one guy wanted me to do a quest for him, I did it. And he's kind of scummy, so he was like, oh, you actually did it. Oh, okay, well, in order to get my vote, I need you to do this. Like, he's kind of being a jerk. So I need to do that. So I'm about a mission and a half away from the end of the game, basically. Because the end of the game, without reading up on it, to me is like, you have to kill this one big guy, and then I think there might be like a follow-up quest, but this sort of filler section, as I've been referring to it as, is sort of ending, which is nice. So yeah, I got about a mission and a half to do, and then I'll be in the home stretch, which usually when I get to a home stretch of a game, I just do one hell of a long play session and just knock it out. So that'll be good. And then at some point, Tim and I were talking about, we want to maybe try there's a multiplayer mod
Yeah, open Morrowind.
That's
basically, that's what it's called. It seems fairly easy to do because like the people that made it, it's actually there's another mod that basically like runs a server or like lets you connect two servers that exist, and I believe they're local hosted. It just gives you the ability to connect to other people. So there's two major mods, but there's enough support behind it and development that you basically just run an install wizard, and then it's good to go. It's pretty wild. And I feel like Morrowind for me would be a lot more bearable with multiple people. Maybe it would make the game way too easy, but it doesn't matter if it's easy, if it's fun, right? So,
well, that's the thing with Morrowind too, and that's something I wanted to mention was, my character's come a long way. I have like 100 acts, and I've been working on the same like heavy armor skills and a little bit of medium here, a little bit of light armor here and there, just depending on what I'm wearing, of course. And armor, of course, and stuff like that. And like I'm at sort of like that end game level I've mentioned before. I'm flying around. I got all these enchanted items, this, that, and the other thing. But there's something weird about it where there comes a point in most, I'd say, modern Bethesda games where I go into an area and I have no fear. In a Fallout game, I'm like, oh, look, it's the biggest creature I've ever seen. All right, let's go see if it bleeds. Like there's no fear. Let's just go kill it. In Morrowind, it'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go and do this. Like I'm super strong. I've killed all these bosses and I've defeated this and I've gone through these dungeons. I'm gonna go in here. Oh, I'm dead. And it's like that classic RPG feel where it's just the enemy has that perfect combination of spells and that perfect combination of things to counter you that just absolutely destroy you. And then there's other times where I've been in fights where I see some big Daedroth or something, and I'm like, Jesus, and I run away because I'm like, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. And then I'll get cornered, and I'll turn around and be like, oh, here we go. And I end up killing the thing in a couple of hits, and I'm like, oh, I guess that was easy. So the difficulty, because this game, as far as I know, doesn't scale, unless it scales a little bit, I'm unaware. But as far as I know, it doesn't scale. You know what? It might scale a little bit because I do see a lot of like doing this at level 1 challenges, although that might just be them like using a lot of scrolls and magic stuff. But they're just, I don't know, the game has that classic RPG feel where it's like the boss or the last guy or even the first guy in a dungeon can just absolutely lay you out. And then you just go like next door to like the Daedric ruin, and there's like a bunch of Daedra and stuff running around, and you're like, oh, I'm going to die in here. And you just kill them with ease. Because like I'm a bit of a scumbag. I steal a bunch of gems and stuff from the shrines that people donate because I want money. And so, and so like,
I feel like everybody does that though.
Yeah, like so like Daedra or Dramora or whatever spawn on me, and I kill them. They drop a Daedric weapon, and then I sell that too. So, although Daedric weapons in this game are super valuable, same with Ebony. I have like almost 100 Gs. If I ever need to like pay somebody off, they'll be like, "Oh, you can like go get your speechcraft up or whatever." Blah blah blah. Like, here's $4,000. I don't care. Yeah, it's just that's just at the point where I'm at, where I'm just like, here you go. Like in my house, I have 4 like ebony spears I haven't sold on the floor, so I'll just go pick one of them up and sell it for 10 Gs.
Yeah, it does reach that point for sure. Like I'm pretty sure I've been floating anywhere on the 80 to 100K mark in Oblivion for like weeks now. Like, it's just so much money.
Well, the thing with Morrowind too is like, okay, so Ebony is worth above 20K, I think, depending on what piece it is. And the maximum a merchant has is 10K, and it's actually not even a real merchant. It is, but it's a mud crab. There's a mud crab merchant in Morrowind that is a drunk, and he constantly says that he's run out of booze. He lives on a little tiny island, and I fly there. I go to Vivek, and I literally take off, and I fly over, and I like sell him stuff for like, he gets it for 10 Gs, and some of it's worth like 20, 30K. And I'm selling them for 10 because he's the richest merchant. And then I wait 24 hours and sell him another piece. Because it's just, it gets to a point where I'm like, well, I have 8 like Daedric swords. Like I need to make money. I'm just going to sell these for, even if it's half the value, I'm just going to sell them. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, I've been backing up my saves and everything too, in case something happens. And I don't know. I'm having a good time now that I'm doing just longer play sessions and fewer of them. So I'm back to enjoying a little bit of Morrowind, and I'm gonna definitely beat it this time. So which is good. So yeah, that's been my week.
Other than Outriders for me, we and then Matt was part of this too. We finished all the archive mission challenges in Overwatch. And one was kind of like really difficult to do.
Storm Raging,
and it's where like enemies get more difficult to kill if they're enraged, and you can see they're enraged. They're kind of all sparkly, glowy, and stuff. If you kill them, their rage spreads to other enemies who aren't enraged. We're having so much trouble with it. We tried multiple times, kept dying, and finally, me and Matt actually did it with 2 random people, and that was pretty quite the accomplishment.
Yeah, we tried it. Because we've actually did these challenges over a few weeks. I think maybe 2.5 weeks ish, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because the event's been going on. I don't care personally about the event. I don't know anything about Overwatch, but I just kind of wanted to do these challenge levels, and we beat quite a few of them the first time we played, like all just right in a row. Had a bit of trouble with a couple, beat those, and then this last one was really killer. And this was like sort of, I guess, the third night, and we only tried for like an hour or more each night, and it was all 4. It was like, so Marty was there, Adriano was there, Ryan, and myself. Marty had some connection issues and had to leave. This was on the night that we beat it, and Adriano played with us for a while, but then eventually left. And I was just like, again, this is just like how my motivation works in my head. So like, I get pissed off at something, and I'm like, that's it. Like, I'm fucking beating this. Like now I'm angry. I don't even care about Overwatch. Now I'm angry. Now I'm beating this. And so I told Ryan, I'm like, I'm going to get a drink. I'm going to leave my party open if you want to join. And that goes to Adriano too. If you want to join, go ahead. I'm going to fucking go back in here, even with randoms. Like, I'm learning how to beat this thing. And then we went back in and we just kicked ass. But we actually, funny enough, it wasn't just luck or whatever. Although there was a little bit of that because of the randoms. But we learned an interesting strategy, which is, if anyone's listening to this and needs to beat this thing, is that what we did was we had Mercy as our healer, big heals, heavy damage with Bastion, and also some little bit of self-healing. I was Orisa, so I was barriering us, but I can't heal. But I also can like use that shield thing or whatever. So I'm heavy damage and like a tank, but without healing capability. And then Echo. Now the key thing with Echo is that you need a lot of damage and you need a lot of healing in this thing. And like, I don't know whether Ryan would agree with this, but that 4th character was always the question. Like, do we do more heals? Do we do more damage? Do we do a hybrid? But if you choose a hybrid, they're not great at heals. They're not great at damage. They're just a hybrid sort of character. And Echo just chose what she wanted to be. She would mimic Bastion to be the damage if we need more damage in that moment. If she need more heals, mimic Mercy. And it was just a perfect, like, our Mercy died, and you guys drew this big guy's fire away from me at the end. This is the part where you always died at. And I just ran over, popped my shield thing. My barrier was still charging, and I was starting to get shot through my thing down, revive Mercy, and then she flies over to the other 2, Echo and Ryan, and she like heals them up. And that ended up like just the constant heal and damage just ended up like unstoppable combination, really.
Yeah, so that was pretty great. I'm glad we got that done, but we have to now take our learnings and get Marty and Adriano over that hill.
I don't mind that though. I don't mind going back through it. It's not like it pissed me off because I didn't want to be there. I was pissed off because I couldn't beat it. And then I was like, you know what I mean? So like now I've beaten it, it's like, like I don't have skin in the game anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't really care anymore. Like I'll help, but I don't really care.
Yeah. All right, let's hop into our stories for the week. Oh, also I'm playing COD Mobile as usual. Stories for the week. Oh, and I came first place in Battle Royale. So
how many?
No, just the one. I don't play Battle Royale often just because it gets my heart going too much, and I get pretty worked up, especially when you're down to like the last like 2 people. So
you want to hear something crazy about that? Actually, is in Fortnite that would have happened to me as well. I think all of us, because we'd play Fortnite back in the day quite a bit, and my best wins are when I mastered not caring at the end. I would just sit there and be like, whatever. Yeah. And then I would just get the best win and be like, oh, okay, I win. GG. Like it was like you have to like keep your. It's like this is like it's almost like physical training here.
Yeah,
It's like I had to train myself to keep my heart rate down at the end of a Fortnite match.
because you start making irrational decisions.
Start getting scared. Yeah, start getting scared.
Yeah. All right, the first story here: Sony is reversing course and will continue to sell PS3 and Vita games. This is from IGN. So, in a letter to the community, Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO Jim Ryan said that it was clear that we made the wrong decision here, and that the stores for PS3 and PS Vita will continue to live on. However, PSP commerce functionality will still end on July 2nd, 2021. And he said, when I quote, when we initially came to the decision to end purchasing support for PS3 and PS Vita, it was born out of a number of factors, including commerce support challenges for older devices and the ability for us to focus more of our resources on newer devices where a majority of our gamers are playing on. We see now that many of you are incredibly passionate about being able to continue purchasing classic games on PS3 and PS Vita for the foreseeable future. So I'm glad we were able to find a solution to continue operations. How do you feel about this? Do you think now, Matt, you had some conspiracy theories about this? You want to share those?
I kind of was wondering whether this is a way to sell more titles, if that makes sense. So obviously, and this is just total speculation. I have no evidence. I'm not even sure if I believe this is true, but I think I made a comment in a chat where I was like, it would be really interesting if they announced this closure, got some influencers and stuff like this to make videos, because I didn't ask them, these influencers, as far as I know, to make these videos, but I saw at least one video of like, pick up these 6 games before the place, like the game store closes, whatever, the PS store closes. And I wonder whether it was to drive sales. Now, again, that's totally tinfoil hat, whatever, but it would be super interesting if it was done to either sell PS Now subscriptions, which may or may not be the case, but really to almost like kick people in the ass who still have a PS3, even like to be like, hey, you better buy all these games, or like people that like Adriano was saying that he was going to go back and buy 6 games or something. I think he said because he wanted to ensure that he had the licenses.
Mm-hmm. I honestly think this is just Sony and Microsoft are in a battle of goodwill at the moment, and Xbox is clearly winning that. And so I think when they got all this negative press that they were closing these stores, they kind of had no choice but to reverse course. It was kind of like when Xbox raised the Xbox Live Gold subscription price. Everyone freaked out, and then they had to reverse that decision. It's kind of like these boardroom decisions that make sense when you're all sitting in the boardroom. Oh, here's a whole library of games that's costing us money, and people aren't buying as much on here. Let's shut it down, right? That makes sense as a business. But then the people get angry and they're like, oh, well, we got to figure out a way to make this viable then.
Well, what's weird, what's interesting to me, maybe it's not weird, what's interesting to me is that there's all these people that are angry. I want to know whether they were shutting it down based on age, or was it due to activity? Like, I understand, like you're saying that this is effectively a goodwill move, but is this almost like a goodwill move with no reward to them? Like, are they keeping the PS3 store up and only making 10 sales a day?
Well, it sounds like they found a solution to make it viable for them, right? Mm. Whether it's hosting this stuff on a cheaper server somewhere or something, who knows? They must have found some way to make it worth keeping open.
Well, that's the thing too, is like if you say, like, I wouldn't be too upset if they said, hey, we're slowing down the PS3 and PS Vita, the downloads, and the downloads will be limited because they're older. I mean, people will complain, but people complain about everything. So, I mean, it wouldn't be as crazy. Like, it's just sort of like, hey, this is older legacy stuff. We're just putting it in our legacy collection. Mm-hmm. Which makes sense too, because like you pay for your link speed as well, as far as I'm aware, depending on, because I don't know what service provider they're with. Mm-hmm. So chances are they would pay for the max speed that they would offer and that type of thing. Because there's also options out there too where you can have things where, let's say you have like a website or a web app that like runs fairly rarely, like you have just the occasional user, but you need it to be up for that user, you can have it so that the first, like, it kind of goes into like a sleep mode and just sort of like sits dormant, and then that first boot, like the first time someone goes to that site or logs in or whatever it is, it'll kind of boot back up. So it'll take, say, 20 seconds for the data to load in. And then after that, let's say more people come flooding in, they'll load in a couple of seconds depending on their internet connection. So like they could have did something like that where it would just say, hey, pending download, wait 2 minutes or something,
Tim, what's your view on digital games and kind of this whole idea that they can just be taken away from you?
I mean, it is strange, right? That we're almost in a sense just kind of renting rather than buying.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to be fair, that's like kind of the agreement that you sign up for when you sign that contract every time you make a purchase on those platforms and stuff. But like, I mean, you also kind of have to think that nothing is forever. There's lots of stuff that you buy physically that doesn't last forever, whether that's based on any number of factors physically, with enough time, right? So I can't see it ever becoming a thing where like distributors are willingly just going to be like, yeah, we're going to shut this down, and thanks everybody for your purchases, but you can't use them anymore. Basically, fuck you, thanks for your money, bye. Like it won't happen. Like there's just too much that will oppose that, whether it's through like legal means or pressures from other companies or things like that. I just can't see it happening. If it did happen, I think there's worse problems in the world going on at that point. But yeah, I don't know. It's like on one hand, it's like, yeah, that would be really messed up. But on the other hand, you have to think about it like, what is the situation in which this actually happens? And like if it's not even that mild and it's just like, oh yeah, you have access to these games as long as you're paying for the service or paying us this fee that you're, whatever, to rent them. I mean, you don't have to do it that way. If you don't agree with those practices, then play games some other way. There's hundreds of ways to do it.
Buy the disc still.
Yeah. There are options,
It's funny that these games... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think there's always going to be a number of options.
I find it funny that these games aren't, because of the way Sony kind of set this up, they're all in their own kind of store, right? And it's funny that they're not all just part of one store that you can access, even on the PS5 or whatever, even though if you can't play them on there. Because it's not like on an iPhone or Android device. They're like, games from 2010 can no longer be played on this phone anymore. It's just always sitting on the server there, and you can go get it whenever you want. Here they have these like sectioned off. Oh, these are PS3 games. This is the PS3 store. We're shutting that down. But
you were able to still download, like the purchasing. The purchasing was being in the original plan. The purchasing was being turned off, but you were still able to download the titles that you had purchased.
So they were still hosted somewhere, but for some reason, you couldn't buy any of them.
As far as I know, that's what the plan was. Because that's why people were saying buy them.
So what cost would it be to them then, if they're still hosting them somewhere and still servicing the downloads of them?
Possibly to the payment partner if there is one, something like that. Just total spitballing.
Yeah.
I mean, keeping it up too, because you have to remember something. Like we played the first Diablo actually, pretty recently in 2020, late 2020, and it went down. BattleNet for Diablo 1 went down for like almost a month, like 3 weeks, and it's like you have to send someone in there. And you can't, the thing is Diablo 1's fucking old, so you can't send someone like me in there, because I don't know how the hell it works. You got to send someone that knows how it works to fix it, right? And hopefully it's just a reboot. And so you have that whole maintenance thing attached to it as well.
It's kind of what's scary about the world is like, when something like that, like we're in Canada, Rogers just went down that one day. It's like, how do you find someone to figure that out to fix it? It's like if the world ended today, it's like it would take us, I feel like, a long time to get back.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that you have to rely on that have old knowledge.
Yeah.
It's just a surprising amount of technology that still relies on very old systems.
There's, it's fascinating to me too that, I mean, I understand that humans are reactive or whatever, but it's fascinating to me too that, like, because I work in web development right now, and like there are like systems that are so simple, or you would think are so simple, like, oh, I'm going to put in like a social media sharing bar, so I'm going to have, the Facebook, Twitter, and whatever, a few other social icons, and I've seen people install like 20 plugins just to get something like that to work. And it's just like, dude, why don't you just, like, nobody learned, like, it's starting to change a little bit. Like, I can see the industry is kind of split between people that do it in this sort of like the most advanced way and people that do it in the sort of most vanilla way. But it's still this thing where some people just don't think it's like, they're like, yeah, I just like download all this stuff, install all this stuff, and then I compile the site and then it works. It's like, yeah, but you're just putting in social media icons. Like, what do you, like, if it's a big web app or something, fine. But the point I'm making here is that, like, each one of those plugins is built upon other plugins, which is built upon other plugins, which is built upon other plugins, which, like, it's this leaning tower of Pisa. That's probably how that Rogers thing happened. I don't know. I didn't read the articles on it, short of the shortage, the day of the shortage itself. So I don't really know what happened. But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like someone's plugin of some other third party updated. Like, that would be and then all of a sudden just everything died. Like, it would be, it's that simple. It's that easy of a thing to make the whole thing come down.
House of Cards.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
In more PlayStation news, PS5 will have more exclusives than previous console, says Jim Ryan. This is from GameSpot. So in a statement to the Japanese publication Nikkei, that was translated by VGC, Ryan seemed to downplay concerns that Sony was branching out to other platforms too much. And he says, we have been quietly but steadily investing in high-quality games for PlayStation, and we will make sure that the PS5 generation will have more dedicated software than ever before. I was just curious how important exclusive games were to you guys.
When I was younger, I
does that affect
definitely
your buying decisions?
Yeah, it did for sure when I was younger. But like now, I mean, it's almost a non-issue anymore. Like, I think that's just because PlayStation just went so hard last generation with the PS4 having like a much better user experience to start off with, and then just having that install base, and then because of the install base there were so many more developers willing to develop for PlayStation, and like usually the case was it's either on both or it's just on PlayStation. So if you just had a PS4 you were pretty much good. But like now, I don't know, it seems like Microsoft is trying to do a bit of a better job with supporting like different creators and stuff like that, and that's awesome. I definitely didn't get a PS5 or an Xbox series yet, so it's harder for me to say, but I just had a PS4 and it was pretty much good last generation, PC and PS4, and then for the occasional like Switch game I wanted to play, I was pretty much set. So, personally, I didn't really have to worry about it. It is definitely like, the console wars is definitely something that's definitely very ingrained in like gaming culture. So it's one of those things where it's like you almost kind of want to see it continue, because it obviously competition breeds innovation and stuff like that, and you want to see different developments and stuff like that. But I don't know. Just with the way that things are going, it's not a technology thing, I don't think, for the most part. I think it's really going to just come down to like who's willing to pay who more money to have their thing on their platform for whatever period of time, or for how much money, or I think maybe eternally. Who knows?
I think there was worry too, because PlayStation is like starting to bring some of their games to PC, and they're wondering if like maybe they were. It almost seems like there's no use for a console anymore if they're going to bring it to PC, because I technically don't need an Xbox Series X because I have my PC, right?
Although you wouldn't have, there is that little bit, that's that little exclusivity thing where Outriders, example, is on PC. You can buy it, no problem. But Outriders Day 1 was free if you had Game Pass, and only on Xbox.
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't have
and
bought
cloud
it,
maybe, but still.
if I didn't have it on Game Pass.
Yeah, like I mean, so it is definitely on cloud because I tried it. But like you, for example, can't use the cloud one.
Mhm.
So like for you, effectively, it's exclusive for free on Xbox.
Right.
Now, obviously, you're
Right.
paying for Game Pass, but that's still something that's just worked into your budget at this point.
No additional purchase is what I heard.
So it'll be interesting to see whether even among the same platform, because things are becoming so one platform, like even among themselves, like because Microsoft kind of has the PC and the console scene, right? Because they have the Xbox and they have
Mhm.
Windows. So even though Windows is more than just a console, but like the thing is, I guess is what I'm trying to say is like even with that being so samey, Microsoft might say no, like make sure Game Pass pushes more people toward whatever PC this time, Xbox this time. So you still have that push and pull a little bit. In terms of me buying something though, is like I have a weird obsession with needing to run formats. I don't know what it is. Like I'll be like, man, like I just want to be able to run all the formats. That's kind of why I buy both, but it's also community as well. Like I do have a community on Xbox, and I have a community on PC, and I also have a community on PlayStation as well. So like I don't go too ham. I don't really go and buy the pro consoles, not normally, and I don't always have like the best PC. But I have something that's at least serviceable in each. My PS4 was hardly serviceable near the end, but still. So the exclusives don't really matter to me because I don't really play exclusives either. I do, but I don't think about it much. Like the Xbox and Halo is just something that's like ingrained into me. So like if I think Xbox, my brain immediately kind of associates Halo with it. But I understand there's more exclusives, but I just never think of it. With PlayStation, I'm not super into The Last of Us. I'm not super into a lot of their exclusives. I do like them. I like Days Gone. I like Ghost of Tsushima. I liked the first Last of Us. But it's just like I'm usually playing something like Outriders. Sea of Thieves, which is both, but there's no push or pull either way. Which is, or not PS5, but PC. And although that would be a hell of a release on PS5, but still.
I just find it funny because like kind of like the gaming press and whatever else, even I guess Sony and Xbox to the same extent, put so much emphasis on these exclusives, right? And yet in my little circle of friends here, I'm the only one who really puts any weight into the exclusives. I just find it funny.
Do you think that are exclusives important to you in a industry?
I mean, I guess I'd have to say yes, because it does seem like the PlayStation 4 was successful in part because of their exclusives. Because it's like if you had to buy one console, you're obviously going to buy the one that can play the exclusives you want and the third party games. The PS4 had both. Xbox had very few first party games during the Xbox One series.
It does depend on what you want though too, because like the vast majority of the PlayStation exclusives were like JRPGs and stuff like that. The sort of things that aren't going to suit the demographic for the Xbox.
That's
You're talking
very
like
true.
a while ago though, right?
Yeah. Like I'm talking PS4, right?
Well, but PS4 had an amazing selection of exclusives.
Yeah, I'm just saying the vast majority still were like JRPGs and stuff. But even if you do get rid of those, yeah, it's still a big difference between Xbox and PlayStation. If we're only talking like major Western titles.
Yes, yeah.
But the thing that a lot of people forget when they say, oh, PlayStation's got so many more exclusives is that, yes, there's like, 100 more exclusive titles on PlayStation because 75 of those are JRPGs.
Here's a question though. Like, here's a question. So like Tim's right in that like a lot of there's a lot of big like huge blockbuster games like Last of Us, but like a lot of the games, because like we were searching actually, Ryan, on the PS Store during some sales, and there's like a lot of JRPGs which are exclusive to PlayStation on there. But here's the question though. So you're not into JRPGs, so this is a question directly, I guess, for Ryan and or Tim as well. So you guys aren't. Let's just say you're both not into JRPGs, because I don't think you really are, other than maybe Yakuza and stuff like that. So
yeah, for sure.
You're not like super into JRPGs, and everybody, and I mean everybody that you play with says that's it. We're going to Xbox only. Do you buy a PlayStation, or do you follow the community above the exclusives?
You're talking to
or
me?
both of you guys, like, because if you think about it, the big blockbusters, like the ones I'm talking about, Last of Us, those type of things, those were single player. So if you're talking financials, you could really pick those up way down the line when you pick up a used console and a used copy.
Right.
And there's and the community, like, there is none other than like on Reddit, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for me, we kind of made this clear when the PS5 was coming out. I'm a PlayStation fan because of their exclusives.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just looking back at the PS4, you had things like Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, Last of Us Part 2.
Heavy hitters.
And on Xbox you had Gears and Forza. Right.
Also good titles.
But that was like kind of it. And so if you're weighing the two consoles, it's like I can play all my third-party games on both. So that's kind of taken out of the equation, right?
But you can't play you can't play, at least not in the beginning of the PS4, you couldn't play your third-party titles reliably or at all with friends if they were on Xbox, and now only piecemeal if crossplay is enabled by the developer. So if you really want to play with a community of people that are only on the Xbox, like, no brainer, you would buy an Xbox if you could.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't really an issue because at least when the PS4 came out, right? Because there weren't crossplay wasn't really being talked about back then. It was only until like Fortnite and kind of pushed that with that supposed when they flicked the switch on. Remember that?
Oh, Rocket League did it too, accidentally or something.
Yeah, it was someone like that. Yeah, and then that kind of opened up the conversation. It's like, why don't we have crossplay? And then Xbox kind of championed that. But at the start of the console generation, I don't think that was much of a calculation, and people just went to the PlayStation platform.
I'm into tech too, like specifically. So like I do have like a certain affinity for Xbox as well. And I'm, like I said, I'm a weird affinity with also running all the platforms. So I'd have to buy all of them, or I always buy usually all of them. But given that everyone, like if you guys all went to Switch, then I would just be like on the Switch all the time.
Been there the whole time, baby.
Yeah, but see, I would still buy a PlayStation.
I still would too, but like given like if it was like today I had to buy it, I can only buy one, I would go with the community above the.
Yeah.
Well, and it determines like what platform you're going to buy your multiplayer games on, right? Like you can still buy your PlayStation for your PlayStation single player exclusives, but when it comes down to what platform am I going to buy all of my multiplayer games on, like, you know, it's not on Switch, so maybe it's a bad example, but like, you know, your Battlefields and your COD and your you know, It Takes Two and Among Us and Minecraft and, you know, whatever else you might want to play with your friends. You're gonna that's which one that we're talking about, right?
You know what's interesting too is with this whole like streaming thing, I wonder if there'll be a day where something like Stadia or even Game Pass, the cloud one, becomes like the main thing, where it's like, that's it, I'm going to like the offerings right now are ridiculous from, say, Game Pass. PlayStation allegedly has some sort of competitor to them, probably a relaunched PS Now if I had to guess, but whatever. And let's just say there's like these crazy offerings are still happening, but they're even bigger now because now there's a big war. There might be a time in which it's like when the PS5 is all tired and done, people be like, or like, even if it's not that, right now the PS5 kind of is my main console, but if Xbox keeps pulling me in with Outriders, Xbox is going to just naturally become my next console. So these streaming platforms might really seal the deal. The good part about that is that usually, yeah, PS Now included. I was gonna say Stadia, but Stadia is not included in this. But if you sign up to one of these streaming services that gives you like a collection of stuff, which is not Stadia unless you have Stadia Pro, then everyone has the same games, and you don't have to necessarily have a box. So like if you're playing those multiplayer games, like I think I mentioned this before, is that with these streaming games, I'm not really a fan of streaming single player games too much, but because I have to rely on the internet, but relying on the internet for a multiplayer game already happens. So like if I have to stream Overwatch, as long as the latency's fine, like who cares? Because if the internet's out, then I'm not playing Overwatch anyway.
All right, moving on to our next story here. Discord reportedly dismisses Microsoft's deal. This is from The Verge. The popular online chat app was reportedly in talks to sell to Microsoft in March, for a price that valued Discord at over $10 billion. Discord was reportedly in talks with at least 3 other companies besides Microsoft. Other past potential suitors included both Amazon and Epic Games, according to Bloomberg. But even with the big name options, Discord has reportedly decided to stay independent and consider a potential public listing to build on its success. Discord has around 140 million monthly users and earned about $130 million in revenue in 2020, but it still isn't profitable, according to the Wall Street Journal. Is this good? Is this bad? Do you think Microsoft, or they should have sold to Microsoft? I think Adriano thought it would be a bad idea.
You know, to be honest, I'm a little bit of a Microsoft fanboy, and so like a lot of my like hardware decisions have inadvertently been good. Like I went from like a BlackBerry to Samsung, and now Samsung's partnered with Microsoft, and then like I have all Windows already and stuff like that, and like I just buy all the subscriptions that Microsoft has too. So like I'm kind of all Microsoft out, and so I'm inclined to say that I wouldn't mind just having Discord in to Windows, like instead of having the messaging system that Xbox Live and Xbox Game Bar and all that bring to the table, the Xbox app. I would just prefer to have Discord, to be honest, and then that would just be a cross-platform between Xbox and PC anyway, chatting thing. Now, of course, you can still do that with the Xbox stuff, but Discord's a little bit more flushed out. So, and also with Microsoft acquiring stuff, sure, back in the day, they used to kind of acquire stuff and shut it down pretty quick. But lately, they've been acquiring stuff and doing good. So,
what do you do? You think there's something stopping Discord from making apps on the consoles? Do you think Sony and Microsoft wouldn't allow that?
the app would have to run in the background.
Yeah, but I mean, things like Spotify can run in the background.
That they're partnered with PlayStation, though. I don't know how the Xbox One works, but the PlayStation Music shut down, and then Spotify came in.
Yeah.
So
right.
I don't know if Spotify has to have a partnership to run specifically like that on an Xbox. I don't really use many apps, so I don't really know. But
actually, just speaking of things running in the background, it's funny that I just recently saw someone tweet that the PS3 had the 256 megabytes of RAM.
What? No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that's right.
Holy
360 had 512. That's why it could have parties run in the background.
Just having a double could allow you to have parties, and the PlayStation couldn't. That's so funny.
Man,
and
that was
they were
chaos
playing games
too,
like The Last of Us was on the PS3.
Yeah.
256 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What?
It's insanity.
Wild.
Well, good luck, Discord.
You know what? I bet you this is. I bet you they're looking at that public listing and realizing they could probably make more.
Probably.
They probably have the numbers.
Even though they're not profitable, but I mean, they're definitely popular. So
that's tech companies, though. Pay $2 to get a $1 client.
Yeah, but is this just off of subscriptions for Discord? What's it called?
Nitro.
I have Nitro actually.
Wow.
There are other ways to support Discord for sure, but like I wish that there was more incentive for Nitro, because as it stands, there really isn't all that much, and like a lot of people don't buy it because they're like, there's just not that much to it, you know.
What does it give you? Do you know offhand?
Gives you the ability to use any server's emotes in any other server. It gives you the option to boost. You get 1 boost per month, which is basically like per 1 use of, or 1 purchase of Nitro.
You boost a post or what?
Boost a server. So it
Okay.
lets you it lets you have like higher streaming bitrate and stuff like that. You can upload pictures in higher quality, things like that. It's kind of just stuff that you would assume would be kind of just like baseline features a lot of the time. So I don't know. It's like, it's nice to have it, and you definitely like, you do miss it a bit when you don't have it, but at the same time, it's definitely not like necessary. And it almost just kind of makes you wonder, like, why isn't this just like a base feature? But they have to restrict some stuff if they want to generate some income, right?
Do you think it would be better if they put ads on the platform and then included ad-free support?
I think it's been their part of their platform design since the very beginning
Not
that
to
it's
have
going to
ads?
be ad free. Yeah, I think they'd be going against their own like culture to do that.
I can respect that though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure.
You know
don't
what
really-
they could really add, honestly, is bots are like, custom coded and all that, and there's like third parties that do it and yada yada. It would be awesome to just have something that Discord made. You buy Nitro, you toss it in any servers that you make, and it's just something that it's like easy. You log into your Discord account on their site, and you just type in like, okay, I want a welcome channel, I want to have roles, I want to have this and that, I want to have the bot manage it. That would be enough probably for me to buy it.
They don't really rub it in your face either. I had a little trouble finding where to actually subscribe to Nitro.
There's that too, yeah. I always forget about it. I don't really think about it at all.
I had
It's
to go
not
into
on
my
the phone.
settings, and then it's under billing settings. But there's no like little like banner that says like get it now or something.
It's true. Yeah, they don't really advertise Nitro very much.
They had that game store for a bit in 2020 or maybe earlier.
Yeah, very briefly they did. I remember that.
See, that would have been something that would have been interesting if you were a Nitro member and you got discounts or something.
That would have been the number one biggest, probably best way to push Nitro.
Wouldn't that put them into competition though with all these other platforms?
I think that's
Yeah.
why they got out of it.
Oh.
Particularly if
just
you're
didn't
only
wanna have to deal
selling
with
like
the hassle.
the smaller games. I don't think that drives a lot of revenue.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably way more complicated than I even have any ability
Oh,
to start
yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Microsoft's xCloud beta arrives on iOS and PC this week. This is from The Verge. So it will officially arrive on April 20th, so it's already happened. The service will arrive on devices via browsers, allowing Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers to play Xbox games on iPhones, iPads, and PCs. Microsoft is keeping this beta rather limited, though, and requiring players to be invited to participate in the testing phase. The service will be accessible at xbox.com/play, where Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers who have been invited to the beta will be able to play Xbox games through Edge, Chrome, or Safari browsers. More than 100 games will be available, and testers will be able to use a compatible Bluetooth or USB connected controller, or simply use custom touch controls. Then we got a little quote here from Catherine Gluckstein, Microsoft's head of xCloud. The limited beta is our time to test and learn. We'll send out more invites on a continuous basis to players in all 22 supported countries, evaluate feedback, continue to improve the experience, and add support for more devices. Our plan is to iterate quickly and open up all Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members in the coming months, so more people have the opportunity to play Xbox in all new ways. So, Matt, you've already kind of got this, but not in a browser. Would you prefer to use the app over a browser?
On my phone, yeah. So I have a Galaxy, it's not Galaxy Note 10 Plus, and I would definitely use the app over the browser. Some of it is due to the fact that when I connect the controller, if I hit the Xbox button, it just brings me right into the app actually, which is super nice. So that's part of it. Now, the thing is too is that this is going to be super interesting to see how touch controls work on a browser. This is a browser running a game that's streaming in, and you're touching the browser. Like it's probably not like it's not that complicated of a concept because obviously we touch and like click and whatever on stuff on websites all the time. But I want to see that latency. Like I'm interested. Like that's super interesting.
Well, is there any disadvantage to being in a browser in terms of performance?
Probably not noticeable for something like this, I would say. The only thing offhand I could think of is unless the browser has less hardware acceleration for some reason or something like that, but you really don't have to worry about it because you're streaming it. So really you're just streaming like an advanced video stream, and browsers, mobile or not, are well within the capabilities of doing that.
Right.
It's just really that latency, because if you click on a link on a website, IGN or anything, and you click the reviews button and you wait for all the reviews to load, I mean, you can't wait as long as it takes for that review page to load for your car to turn in a game.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting. Like, and the thing is I'm not even talking like, you know, with a controller, I'm not like the latency should be fine. Cause like, this is like the browser is just a vehicle. It's just showing you. I'm just curious about those touch controls and see how those work. That's just, it's probably like way simpler than I'm thinking in my mind, but that's super interesting to me.
Now, obviously, they don't have an app on iOS platforms because of their little feud with Apple over kind of control over the App Store.
Never heard of it.
Apple's solution was that Apple would or Xbox would submit the games to Apple for review. So they had to submit every game on Game Pass for review. And then probably even like purchasing the subscription would have to go through Apple as well.
Hell yeah.
So Apple said, or you could use the browser. And so Xbox went and made a browser version. But also Stadia and GeForce Now have also done the same. And
how are those doing?
I'm not sure in terms of like people using them, but I have them on my phone, and you couldn't tell the difference of them being an app or not.
That's great.
Because when they're on your home screen, they replace like the link you make with an icon, right?
Mhm.
It looks like an app. And when you tap on it, it's not like it loads a Safari page, right? It literally loads a page that is only the app.
It's probably a progressive web app, PWA.
Yeah, that's right. And so it's indistinguishable from an app. You wouldn't know this wasn't an app, you know. So I think it's going to be fine. I do wish Apple would ease up a bit on the restrictions in terms of game streaming apps. But since they have this workaround, I don't know if they have any incentive to do that.
I don't know if the phrase "ease up" exists in any Apple employees' vocabulary.
They've eased up on a few things, but I mean, streaming video is one thing where they did ease up. So it is possible, but we'll see what happens.
You know what's interesting is that, PWAs are like something that's up and coming. Apple has in the past supported them quite a bit. Obviously, they still support them in terms of like the technological side. Phones can use them. So what's super interesting about it is that the idea of a PWA is realistically almost like to do away with an app store. And
right.
Apple pushing things out of their app store. I realize this is one example, and not all gamers are going to be using this, and not all iPhone users are gamers. I get that. But it's just one of those things, like maybe this is like a little crack in that thing where, like, what if PWAs, like they've been around for a while, but then like in more recent years, if you're on a certain website, like on your computer, and you, depending on your browser, you'll see a little install button. You click that, and installs it like an app. It's a PWA, but it's still an app. And it runs great. Like if you have a low performance, like a Ultrabook or something like that, that's like, or a tablet, like a Windows tablet PC, whatever. Those web apps will oftentimes run better because they're just running the browser, right? So effectively, but they look like apps. It would be, and some of them run offline too, depending on what they're used for. You know, it would be super interesting to see what Apple would do if their app store starts to fall. If our use cases for phones, and this is total like 10 years out, maybe, possibly roll the dice, tinfoil hat even a little bit. But imagine a future in which Apple starts to lose control because they push people away. That'd be interesting.
I think you're right. It is interesting, but so the App Store makes so much money, and people just go there like out of habit to get everything. It would be a hard habit to break, I think.
It's funny to me being like not an Apple user really at all, and thinking of going to like one digital platform for everything, like whether it's your music or movies or apps or what. I would never.
You don't have to in that sense.
You don't have to, but like it's designed to be convenient that way for the user, right?
And this is where I kind of get angry. I'll go continue.
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I kind of get upset because as an Apple user, I am choosing this kind of walled garden, right? And I think that's where a lot of people get angry at Apple. And it's like, okay, if you're angry at Apple for having a walled garden, that's fine. There are options for you, but the people in the walled garden are there by choice. We want a single, entity controlling things, because it does lead to a bit better of a user experience. Particularly me, I use all of Apple's like stock apps for my life.
Mhm.
Right? I use their mail, I use their calendar, I use their messages, I use Apple Music, I use Apple TV, and it's just simple to go from one thing to the next, and it all just work. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, it's Google's kind of ending up doing the same thing with Android. Is you kind of end up relying on a lot of Google apps to do all the same thing. And I will admit that I do use Google for a lot of what I'm trying to accomplish. But at the same time, like, I also have that freedom to, if I want to download a third-party app on my Android phone, I can do it. If I want to, do these things that require a little bit more freedom, I'm not locked by my software developer or by my hardware manufacturer that like only certain things are allowed, which maybe I feel like that's where a source of a lot of Apple users' frustrations is that it's more so that like if they want to kind of stray a little bit,
you're screwed. Apple has to give you permission. That's the thing.
Right.
What's interesting too with a cell phone is cell phones are just sort of like a thing of life now, and a lot of people, like you're saying, people are choosing to be in the walled garden. That's totally fine. Some people just choose an iPhone. They don't know what the hell they're getting into though.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, hey, what the like? Why can't I just see the files on the phone and yada yada?
Yeah.
And it's because like Apple has the separate files app and everything's in like these little silos and that type of thing.
Yeah. And I'm not saying Apple's perfect. I like the way they do things, and I actually like them controlling it. I do think they do overstep their bounds in some areas, particularly in this case with the streaming apps. It's ridiculous for Xbox to have to submit every single game, to Apple for review when Microsoft's already done that, So I think there's things that they can work on with the App Store. But I think you are right, Matt. There could be some small crack.
Little crack in that little globe there, in the snow globe, little one.
Yeah, but it's not that big of an issue because the solution is already available on MacBooks and their Mac lineup, where you can go to any website, choose any app you want and download it. So it's not the end of the world if it breaks on the iPhone. It's more they lose a ton of money if that happens.
Well, here's the question too, though, is in this is like, what if Apple, and I think we've said this before, what if Apple's just going to make their own game store? They don't have to make any games. They don't have to become a developer. They don't have to become a publisher. All they got to do is buy a data center, build an app, stream the games.
Yeah.
So, easier said than done, but also Apple's a huge company. So easier said than done for them, of course,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if they just do that and then they just say, too bad. Like you guys have a little browser app and we have the top one.
I'm surprised they haven't gotten more into gaming. And I mean, obviously they're into mobile gaming. Right. But I'm surprised they haven't moved into more standard AAA gaming with how big it's become. I'm amazed that their Macs haven't like added more support for other graphics cards or anything to actually support, higher end games.
I wonder if that's something where they're just like, they're so far beyond the point of adopting it now that they're just like, to start to develop for gaming would be to admit that they weren't the best at everything. So now it's like a hubris thing.
Well, I'll tell you what though, they're switching over their entire lineup to their own developed Apple Silicon, which is kind of blowing away current Intel processors. So I wonder if they could actually make decent GPUs using their own silicon now. I kind of hope they do as a gamer.
That's literally the reason why I invested in them because
I'm all for it, man.
I want in on that. Like,
yeah, I'm all for it. If more competition is always a good thing. I think, especially when it comes to goddamn PC hardware. Like we really need more supply. Jesus.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our final story for the week. Overwatch 2 director Jeff Kaplan announced that he is leaving Blizzard. This is from GameSpot. So after nearly 2 decades at the Blizzard Entertainment, Overwatch director Jeff Kaplan is leaving. Kaplan announced his departure in a personal statement, while an official post on the Overwatch website wished him well and explained that what will happen to the game's management structure in his absence. Did Jeff Kaplan work on World of Warcraft at some point? Do Do you happen to know?
Kaplan? I don't think so, but I can.
Because he's been at Blizzard for a long time. So let me just see if I can Google what he's done here.
Yeah, he was director for WoW.
Oh wow, there you go. Oh wow, it's WoW.
Do you have a time period? Like, was he from the beginning or was he?
Yeah, I'm looking it up here.
Elements of WoW. Kaplan's player versus environment elements of WoW, including quest design, the overall aesthetics for various dungeons and raids. He described his position as a medium between Metson's creative elements and the programmers and artists of the level design team.
Yeah, so director. Sounds about.
He was eventually named director of WoW. So
yeah.
So he's had quite a storied history at Blizzard, and obviously as a fan of Overwatch, I'm sad to see him go. It does make me a little nervous about the future of Overwatch, but I think they'll be fine, hopefully. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, he was there for 2002 until this year. So that's that's a long time. Is he just retiring? Is he moving on to make his own company? Because he's not the first one to leave. There were those other devs who you worked on StarCraft, I believe.
Oh yeah.
That left to make their own studio, to make their own real-time strategy game again, because they want to keep the genre alive. Outside of StarCraft and things like that, they're Civilization, Hearts of Iron. Matt, you'll know better than I will. RTSs, they don't, or I guess Civ isn't real time; it's turn based. But real time strategy, it's kind of lacking. Like there's not a lot of competition out there. The genre isn't really reaching its full potential.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
What's
like Company Heroes 2 is still like super valid, and I mean the only thing off the top of my head, other than a bunch of indie games for sure, but the only thing off the top of my head is the New Age of Empires is coming out, which is a big thing. New Age of Empires, the Age of Empires definitive editions, which were the remakes of the old ones or the remasters, whatever they were, and I mean really like people are just sticking with the same RTSs, Europa, Hearts of Iron, Company Heroes 2.
Yeah, it's Frost Giant Studios, which has been established by 2 ex-Blizzard developers. They're working on a real-time strategy game. Currently, the co-founders Tim Morton and Tim Campbell are the ones heading this initiative, and they say that their company is focusing on new RTS experiences. So it seems like it's going to be a studio dedicated to RTSs, which is an interesting prospect.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, people. Now you can catch Tim on the Twitch.
On the old Twitcherino, twitch.tv/thatfigures. Again, like I said, lots of Oblivion. But coming to the end of the Shivering Isles, so I think from there, there's not really that much else to do. I've kind of done most of it that I want to do with it, and moving on to something new. I think I'm going to be starting up Majora's Mask, and I might be, just because I've been kind of playing it on and off, and I really want to get more into it and more through it. I've been playing enough Monster Hunter Rise recently, so I think I'm going to be doing more of that as well. Nice. So if that's your bag, feel free to come on by and let me know if you came from the podcast. That would be really interesting to know.
We also stream on a Wednesday around 8:30ish, I guess. Twitch.tv/DamnWinPatchMedia. Almost said, yeah, that figures.
Damn it, come on now.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace!